One of the biggest criticisms modern day wrestling fans have is the idea that we complain a lot. We're very negative. We're always looking for reasons to tear down a wrestling product. We ignore all the good things, the good matches, the characters, the small nuances that make a good wrestling show good. And we pick out the stuff that's stupid so we can make fun of it or talk about it and have fun at the expense of wrestling. The thing about ECW that a lot of fans seem to either forget or just not acknowledge is that even though it didn't have the revenue sources of a WCW, the guidance of a Vincent Kennedy McMahon, what it had was heart. What it had was a love to entertain their audience. Paul Heyman's baby, ECW, to me, will always be remembered for changing the wrestling business. Some of you might think for the worse, I think for the better. Because at the end of the day, these men, these women are doing this for our entertainment. They're sacrificing their bodies to make us feel a certain way, to make us happy, to make us sad, to make us angry. You cannot tell me right now there is one promotion that has personified the sport of wrestling, professional wrestling, than ECW. And when it comes to this One Night Stand pay-per-view, when it comes to ECW One Night Stand 2005, if you were to ask me right now, Deluxe Man, what is your top 10 favorite WWE pay-per-views, WWF pay-per-views of all time? Easily, without even thinking about it, this show would be in my top 10. Easily. It might be in my top 5. I'm not too sure about that, but this is definitely one of the best pay-per-views I've seen as a wrestling fan. It is the perfect tribute to ECW. To me, we've had a lot of ECW reunion shows, farewell shows. This to me is the real farewell show. There has never and probably will ever be another reunion show that will top this. Everything following this, even next year's ECW One Night Stand, to me, was not ECW. It wasn't ECW. It's WWE's version or TNA's version or some other company's version of ECW. And it was inferior. It pales in comparison to this show. The show originated from the head of Rob Van Dam, who pushed for it and got it approved by Mr. McMahon himself. Tommy Dreamer was in charge of organizing the event, calling all the talent. He made sure everybody was there, of course, who was alive. And this wouldn't be ECW if the mastermind wasn't writing for it. Paul Heyman wrote for this show. I love ECW One Night Stand 2005. I love that they had the event at the Hammerstein Ballroom, which is old school home for ECW. Those of you who know ECW's history, this is where they made a name for themselves. It was a legit ECW crowd. We had Joey Styles on commentary, the voice of ECW, and to add more niceness, to add more coolness to commentary, we had Mick Foley joining him as color commentator. And they were great together, by the way. I thought Joey Styles and Mick Foley had a natural pairing, have a natural chemistry. It actually worked very well. It was the perfect atmosphere for a tribute show. It felt like an ECW show. If you were to tell me that this was an ECW pay-per-view, yeah, I would have believed it. The show did awesome in buys, by the way. I think this show did, says it right here, 325,000 buys, which is huge. Huge for a B pay-per-view. Keep this in mind. Back in this era of WWE, back in the day, pay-per-views cost $50. $50, ladies and gentlemen. Think about that. $50. And they sold 325,000 pay-per-view buys from this show alone. So to anybody talking about ECW can't draw, ECW never made any money, ECW has made WWE the most money it's made during its farewell and its reincarnation out of any borrowed promotion that WWE has brought and reincarnated. Seriously, WCW didn't make them this much money. And it's crazy too that they actually tried to sell this or stream it on their website and they couldn't do it because so many people were buying it that they had to shut it down. They didn't have enough bandwidth at the time to make that happen. They didn't have the network. So it was shut down. It was a highly successful event. Business-wise and quality-wise, ooh, it was even better. Amazing show. Amazing show. The story of this pay-per-view was ECW was coming back, and we had a couple of people in WWE who didn't like it. Eric Bischoff and John Bradshaw Layfield, to name a few. And they formed what was known as the Crusaders, the anti-ECW Crusaders. And they watched the pay-per-view from up top on the balcony. They all had their own chairs. You had people like Edge, Kurt Angle, Rob Conway, JBL's Cabinet and JBL. You had all these heels that you usually would see on the shows at this time. Even Christian, freaking Maven. Remember Maven? I forgot about Maven. But it was cool. It was cool seeing all the old school heels before, you know, they did their own thing and left WWE for greener pastures. Anyways, but it was a good storyline to lead into the show. And it really made things a lot more interesting, especially leading to the end. But let's talk about these matches. Let's get into the first match, which was Lance Storm with beautiful Dawn Marie. I forgot how hot Dawn Marie was back in the day. But Lance Storm took on Lionheart Chris Jericho, who donned his Lionheart persona for this match. It was really cool seeing Chris Jericho come in and wrestle as Lionheart Chris Jericho. Very good fun opening match, man. These two worked really well with each other. And they did a lot of cool spots. I love the Battle of the Boston Crabs because both of them use the Boston Crab as a finisher. The only difference is Lance Storm uses a single-legged, is it single-legged or single-legged? One-legged, let's go with that, one-legged Boston Crab, and Chris Jericho does the original Boston Crab, which he calls the Walls of Jericho. It ends with Just Incredible, one half of the Impact players, coming in, caning Chris Jericho and helping Lance Storm get the victory. After the match, we see the Impact players with Jason and Dawn Marie do their infamous pose, you know. And then Chris Jericho stands up and gets Lionheart chants out of appreciation for his match. We go into a triple threat, nope, sorry, gotta get this right, a three-way dance between Tajiri, Little Guido, also known as Nunzio, from the FBI, the Full-Blooded Italians. Awesome stable, by the way. But Nunzio Tajiri took on Super Crazy. Super Crazy, in my personal opinion, is one of the most underrated performers, period. He was awesome during this show and his run in ECW. The match was insane. This was an insane, chaotic, high-flying, awesome match. It had the involvement of Sinister Minister, also known as James Mitchell from TNA, the Full-Blooded Italians, We saw some crazy, unbelievable spots, especially a moonsault off the balcony from Super Crazy. He did a freaking moonsault off the balcony. You can't pay me enough to even jump off a balcony, but now you're doing a moonsault off the balcony? Jesus Lord, man. You don't see this again nowadays. You don't. And he was crazy, which is why he's called Super Crazy, but he was crazy for doing that. Everything was fun. You see a lot of nostalgia spots and finishers from Mikey Whipwreck, from the Full-Blooded Italians, and then it comes down to Nunzio being eliminated first in this elimination match. Nunzio's gone first. Why do I call him Nunzio? It's Little Guido. Little Guido's gone, and then it's down to Tajiri and Super Crazy. And they have their back and forth because they have a story rivalry. But Super Crazy ends up winning with the triple moonsault. I thought that was an amazing match. I loved this match. I especially loved the next match as well, which was Psychosis versus Rey Mysterio. Now, I've always wondered why Psychosis unmasked on this show. I asked my friends and, of course, people who know about the history of ECW and Psychosis. I asked why he unmasked. And everybody gave me the exact same answer. He just felt like it. He didn't have to. There was no reason behind him taking off the mask. I think he came into the show with the mask on to show respect to his past in ECW. But then he took it off because he felt like, what's the point? So that was interesting. But I thought there was a reason he did that. But whatever the case. The match he had with Rey Mysterio, great. Great match. One hell of a Lucha Libre contest. Fans loved everything here. The arm drags, the Hurricane Ranas, the high-flying dives over the top rope. You saw a crazy leg drop guillotine on Rey Mysterio hanging on the barricade on the outside. Straight damn near decapitated him. It was awesome. The only thing that this crowd didn't like was the 619. Because the 619 is a WWE move. And Rey Mysterio didn't use the 619 in ECW. And I kind of shake my head that it's not a big deal. Whatever. He used the 619. It's still Rey Mysterio. It's still an awesome finisher. He ended the match with the West Coast Pop, though. Rey Mysterio wins. I think this is when we get that anti-ECW Crusader promo. Yeah? So, this is the part of the show where the Crusaders are talking. You got Kurt Angle saying how he hates ECW, and the reason why he left it in 1996 was because it was garbage. It wasn't wrestling. And then JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield, gets the microphone. And he already has a ton of heat at this time anyways. People hate JBL by this point. He is one of the most, if not the most hated man in wrestling. But this man gets on the microphone, and he almost incites a riot. His heel promo was nasty. He mocks ECW's legacy, talking about the bounced checks, about the fans living in their mother's basements, about how he sells out arenas much larger than small bingo halls, and then actually claimed that if this pay-per-view sold out, it was because he was there. He was trashing the fans, trashed the wrestlers, about how anybody can be an ECW performer if they go into the ring and mutilate themselves, cut themselves, beat themselves up. Just completely trashed everything about ECW. It was so awesome. People don't understand how much of a heel JBL was. He was a real heel. A real heel. But then RVD, Rob Van Dam, who's injured at the time, well, I think he's not necessarily injured, but he had knee surgery. He comes out to loud RVD chants that drowned out JBL's promo. And RVD cuts a shoot promo about how he created the event, about how much he hates the fact that he can't wrestle or perform because of his leg injury. And he craps on the forced pushes of WWE talent like JBL. I wish he would do that nowadays and crap on people like Roman Reigns. But moving on. After his promo, we see Rhyno jump out of nowhere and gore RVD. He gores the hell out of him. And that's when the lights go out. and they come back on to show Sabu. And then we get a referee. It becomes an impromptu match, and that's the next match. Everything about this match was amazing. There are days when Sabu botches everything. And when he botches everything, it's not pretty. But then, there are those days when he doesn't botch. When Sabu is on, and when I say he's on, that means he hits everything picture perfect. When he's on, he is extremely hard to follow. You don't want to follow an on-point, 100% correct Sabu. You can't top that. There's a reason why he was always the main event, most of the time. But he didn't miss anything in this match. And it was incredible seeing him do triple jump moonsaults from the chair to the ropes, and then moonsault, and then he did his air Sabu, and then Arabian facebuster off the top rope. I also love seeing Rob Van Dam get back in the ring and get back in Rhyno for goring him. He did a mini running Van Terminator because he couldn't do the full one because his knee was hurt. But it was cool. It was cool seeing RVD get some in the match despite being hurt. He probably messed up his knee even more. Sabu wins with the Arabian facebuster. Arabian facebuster through the table. We get some video packages paying homage to people who died. Namely, I have the list right here. Let's see. Rocco Rock from Public Enemy. Terry Gordy. Mike Lockwood, who was Crash Holly. The Original Sheik. Big Dick Dudley, who was like the big father figure of the Dudley Boys. And Chris Candido, who is the lover of Sonny. Chris Candido died around this time. It was actually pretty sad to see him go. And then they played memories, ECW memories of all the great times in ECW history. The next match, see, this match has me torn. I think I appreciate it differently than I did when it first happened because of who's involved. And knowing what happened to those two, it makes me look at it with different lens. But the next match is Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero. In terms of a match, it was decent. It wasn't bad. But when you have two former world champions, two very successful performers who have started from the bottom and then now they're there, amazing. And I didn't mean like, you know, rest in peace, of course, there. But I'm talking about like, we at the top of the mountain, you know. But two amazing in-ring and ring performers. You would expect something a little bit better than what we got. It was very subpar. I don't know. I just kind of feel like they just went in there and did what they did, whatever. It felt... Let me put it to you this way. It wasn't a bad match. The thing is, compared to the other matches on the card, it felt like a WWE match. It felt like a regular SmackDown Raw match. That's basically how I'm going to describe it. It wasn't a terrible match. I just kind of feel like they didn't do much. That's about it. But this next match, easily match of the night. The best match on this card. Mike Awesome versus Masato Tanaka. Masato Tanaka. Japanese strong style. You get me every time with that. I love it. I love that Japanese strong style. Fantastic match. They beat the hell out of each other. Chair shots, tables, punches, kicks, chops. Mike Awesome has to be one of the biggest disappointments in wrestling. Because he is so good. He was so good as a performer. He had to leave ECW and go to WCW. And then flop. Big time. He flopped in WCW. Could have been something big in ECW. Loved Masato's Japanese strong style. Eating chair shots. And when I say eating chair shots, Mike Awesome bent a chair over his head and he just took it. Like, that stuff is awesome. I love that, man. I can't get enough of that. But yeah, crazy, brutal, nasty spots, especially. So there was this one spot where Mike Awesome has Masato up for an awesome bomb, his power bomb. He turns to the ropes and tosses him over the ropes through a table on the outside. And then, before he can even breathe, Mike Awesome jumps over the ropes, goes diving Taker style over the ropes, and splashes on top of him. Overkill. Straight up overkill finish. This personified ECW. This was awesome. I loved this match. Match of the night by far. And then we got the infamous Paul Heyman shoot promo on the Crusaders, and a thank you to the ECW audience. Man, Paul Heyman, again, the evil genius of ECW. He deserves so much credit, probably a lot more than we're giving him already for creating this. Because ECW changed the business. So when he walked out there and got those thank you Paul chants, he had a tear in his eye. It was great. It was emotional. It was cool. It was cool to see him reaping the rewards of his hard labor. All those nights, barely living off money, to finally stand in the ring and get to see his baby be appreciated. It's cool. That's really, really cool. He destroyed the Crusaders. He destroyed all of them. He attacked Edge for cheating on Matt Hardy with Lita. He attacked Eric Bischoff, telling him we don't see all these wrestlers coming to a WCW pay-per-view. And then he destroyed JBL. Mr. Shoot Promo JBL, talking about the only reason why you held the WWE Championship for a year is because Triple H didn't want to work Tuesdays. The story behind that is in 2004, Triple H was drafted to SmackDown. And he didn't want to be drafted to SmackDown. So he made some pulls backstage to get him back on Raw. Because he didn't want to work Tuesdays. Yeah. Yep. He went there. The final match was the Dudley Boys taking on Sandman and Tommy Dreamer. I gotta do a rant real quick. The only thing I have an issue with when it comes to the pay-per-view, it's not even the pay-per-view itself, it's WWE taking the show and basically removing some stuff so they can have it on the network. If you watch the network version, the entrance of Sandman doesn't have Enter Sandman, his theme song by Metallica. And it's horrible. It's not even that it's a bad song. Why would you have an entrance for Sandman and not play one of the most iconic songs for a wrestler? I get that there's copyright laws and stuff like that, but for me, it's just not right. I had to stop the video, find the actual entrance on Dailymotion, and watch that. Because the song, Enter Sandman, gave life to not just Sandman during his entrance, but that ECW audience. You can hear the audience sing with the chorus, Exit Light, Enter Night. It's really, really good stuff, man. It was beautiful. Beautiful. One of my favorite parts of the entire show was that entrance. That's why it just made me so angry that they eliminated it. Sandman had trouble getting to the ring. They wouldn't let him get to the ring. He had to push some people out the way. You had people grabbing his Kendall stick and knocking their heads against it. They were crazy fans. Crazy fans. But they loved this show. They loved the wrestlers, and they loved ECW. We talk about wrestlers known for their entrances alone. Sandman, honestly, has to be at the top of the list. He might be number one. So we got the Dudley, Sandman, Tommy Dreamer. And before the match can start, here comes the BWO. Stevie Richards, the Blue Meanie, and then that other guy. Forgot his name. The parody of Hulk Hogan. They made so much money off of that parody. It's ridiculous. But then you get people like Axel Rotten and Balls Mahoney. Is Mahoney or Mahoney? I'm going to go with Mahoney. The Impact players, we saw them earlier. Just Incredible, and Lance Storm. You got Spike Dudley, you got Kid Cash. They're all just jumping out, making, random appearances, just to get mega pops. We had an awesome spot by Kid Cash jumping off the ropes to the outside. It was pure nostalgia. Then once all of them left, then we got the match. This was the quintessential ECW main event. Blood, gore, violence, craziness, barbed wire, cheese grater. Cheese grater. Freaking cheese grater across the skull of freaking Tommy Dreamer. I cringed. I tightened up. I never felt so uncomfortable watching a cheese grater go across a man's head. Go across a man's head. And then the blood just pour out. Tommy Dreamer, you're a crazy man. But you're awesome. You're crazy, but you're still awesome. But this match had everything, man. Cheese grater, 3Ds, chair shots, candlestick shots, flaming tables. You want flaming tables? You got that. You want a cat fight? You want some women cat fighting? You have Beulah McGillicuddy and Francine doing their thing. Yeah, we didn't have Shane Douglas. Oh well. Anyways, but those two were just in there, just rah, 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 rah. You had Joey Styles, cat fight, cat fight. You had a lot of, oh my god. It had all of it. But the match ends with a flaming table from the Dudleys, powerbombing poor Tommy Dreamer through it. And then the show ends with a big fat brawl with the anti-ECW Crusaders taking on the ECW alumnus. Stone Cold Steve Austin makes a special appearance at the end of it. He leads the charge. He helps the ECW team take out the Crusaders. And we had to get one more appearance from Taz. T-A-Z Taz, who came out and basically choked out Kurt Angle, who attacked him. I think he attacked him a couple of weeks before the show. It was great. I wish we would have got a lot more Taz. Would have liked to have seen him wrestle. Maybe have a match against Kurt Angle. Because let's check this out. Taz beat Kurt Angle in his first defeat. Like, he gave Kurt Angle his first defeat in WWE. So it would have been nice if they actually did something with that. But I'm not complaining. What we got was wonderful. But ECW runs off the anti-Crusaders, and then Eric Bischoff just gets his ass kicked. He gets a stunner from Austin, and then they celebrate with a bear bash. Amazing show. The best reincarnation of ECW, period. I loved it. And if you haven't seen it, please go out of your way to watch it. But if you have, give me your thoughts about it down below. This is one of the best pay-per-views I've seen. One of my favorites. Top 10. Absolutely. And if you weren't an ECW fan, this would make you a fan. But thank you for watching this review. Comment down below your thoughts on it. Share your favorite match, your favorite moment, if you like the pay-per-view. But if this is the first time you're watching your boy, Deluxe Man, please click that subscribe button. Please like the video. And please check out more of my retro reviews when they're out. This is it for me in terms of talking about any ECW type shows. But I'll have to see. To me, when it comes to ECW shows, maybe Barely Legal 1998 I might do a review on, but I haven't seen too many of them to really say they made a lot of great shows. But if you know some shows that you want me to watch, let me know. I doubt they're as good as this, but we'll see. But thank you guys for watching. This is your boy Deluxe Man signing off right here in Deluxe Man's World. Catch you guys next time. Peace out.